A food desert is an area where access to fresh vegetables and healthy food is limited or non existent. A newer term, mental health desert, refers to an area where access to counseling and care is scarce. Rich Lenz spoke with reporter Whitney Bryen with our content partner Oklahoma Watch and learned where the problem is most prevalent in Oklahoma.
So a good example of that, we have a lot of that in rural Oklahoma where the population is very spread out. So there are fewer treatment providers as well as fewer treatment facilities. In Elk City public schools arena, for instance, there is only one mental health professional for every 150,000 residents. That's a lot of folks who could potentially need help in that arena who don't have access to someone who can provide that assistance.
And while the situation isn't great in urban areas, you're saying it's a little bit more acute in the rural areas?
When you have a mental health professional in that area, they might be serving people who are an hour, 50 miles down the road. In urban centers, you're going to have more people, but you're also going to have more professionals. You're going to have more treatment providers, more facilities, more nonprofits, just more support in general.
You know, Whitney, I found it interesting that sometimes these problems seem to be more acute towards the end of the school year. Now, why would that be?
I found that interesting too. When I was talking to counselors in May, they would pick up the phone and talk to me and they would be out of breath almost. Oh, sorry, it's been a busy day. The end of the school year, it's not a celebration for some of them. It's terrifying because they know that they're about to spend 2 or 3 months away from school at home. For some of these kids, school is their safe place. They start to get anxious about having to leave that safe place for a couple of months and go home where someone might be hurting them.
So tell me about Project Aware and how it can help.
So Project Aware is a federal grant. Schools across the country receive this grant. I believe there were 25 or 30 states who received it, Oklahoma among them. And in Oklahoma, that money has now gone to 6 different school districts. And in those school districts, they're receiving money and support and training for mental health care for students. So these are school districts like Elk City, like Weatherford, teachers and school counselors even, they're not trained mental health professionals. They're trained educators and help kids succeed academically, not to help kids who say have suicidal thoughts or are experiencing trauma from, the loss of a parent or a loved one.
So Project Aware is federal money, but what about here in Oklahoma, the Education Department, the legislature, are they helping?
Just a few days after our story published, the State Department of Education announced a new project that they're doing to try to support kids' mental health. It's called the Counselor's Corps. I did hear from State Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister last week. She told me that effort is looking to put about 300 new school counselors, psychologists, and mental health professionals in schools across the state. So 300 counselors, 500 districts. It's a step in the right direction, I think, but a lot of folks are saying, it's still not going to be enough.
And Whitney, it's worth mentioning Joy Hoffmeister, also the chair of the OETA board. Excellent reporting. As always, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rich. It's always a pleasure to be on.